great to us, the teachers. You're always willing to help, and from sixth grade celebration to winter programs. Thank you so much, and enjoy your day.
Hi, my name is Daniel Martinez. I'm on 5th grade at Anthony Elementary. What makes me ganar such an awesome teacher is I have learned a lot from her, and she's really patient teaching us, and she's kind with us. Ms. Ganar, thank you for being the best teacher. I've learned
Good evening, everybody. Thank you for joining us this evening. Just before I call the meeting to order, just a reminder to those that are present in the public, if you would like to address the board, make sure that you filled out a yellow form that should be out in that little round table, and you would turn it into Mrs. Delgado, seated over there, to address the board. Okay? Okay, so again, good evening. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. To those who are online and those here present in person, I now call this meeting to order. This is a Gadsden Independent School District Special School Board meeting for Thursday, June the 23rd at 5:01. Ms. Delgado, can you please take roll call?
Mr. Cana?
Present.
Mr. Castillo?
Present.
Ms. Flores?
Present.
Ms. Murillo?
Present.
Ms. Rodriguez?
Present.
Madam President, we have established quorum.
Thank you, Ms. Delgado. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance and the salute to the New Mexican flag. Thank you. Secretary Rodriguez, can you please read our mission statement?
The Gadsden Independent School District will ensure that all students will learn by putting education first. The district will provide quality educational opportunities conducive to learning that will facilitate students' individual goals. El Distrito Escolar Independiente de Gadsden se compromete a poner en prioridad la educación de cada estudiante. El distrito proporcionará oportunidades educativas de calidad conducentes a un aprendizaje que facilite las metas individuales de los estudiantes.
Thank you, Mrs. Rodriguez. Moving on to item 3, modification of the agenda. Do I hear a motion?
I'll make a motion that we accept the agenda as is.
Mr. Castillo has made a motion to accept the agenda as is. Superintendent Dempsey?
So recommend.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Okay, motion passes. Moving on to item 4, consent agenda. Do I hear a motion?
I'll make a motion that we accept the consent agenda.
Mr. Castillo has made a motion to accept the consent agenda. Any questions or comments? I did have a question, I guess, I know that the special school board meeting was called for this reason. I was just wondering why these items were not addressed in the previous school board meeting. Just curious.
Madam President, board members, I think the budget process for the state this year and our carryovers have just continued to be late, quite frankly, and it makes it a little bit of a challenge to get that budget process closed up and to begin the new one. And so that's probably the items, and you know, keep in mind that they're also managing ESSER funds at the state level. So that, the same staff that manage those are managing title budgets, and that's what you're seeing here is all title budgets. So it's late really processing those carryovers on many of them.
Okay, and then just one more question, just so the public can know, if you can explain G, superintendent authorization to approve and submit transfer and maintenance bars.
So what that request is, it allows our finance department to move forward to close out one budget year and begin the other, and then they'll bring all of those changes back to the board in July. So you'll get to see those.
Okay, any further questions, comments, or concerns? Okay, Superintendent Dempsey?
So recommend.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Okay, motion passes. Moving on to item 5, open forum. Ms. Delgado, do we have any speakers this evening?
Madam President, we do have open forum.
Okay, so before we begin, let me just read a statement that I always read to our speakers this evening. So personal attacks upon board members, staff, personnel, or other persons in attendance or absent by individuals who address the board are discouraged. Presenters are cautioned that statements or representations concerning others that convey an unjustly unfavorable impression may subject the presenter to civil action for defamation. Policies KE, KEB, KEC, and KED are provided by the board for disposition of legitimate complaints, including those involving individuals. And so this evening, we do have 2 individuals that would like to address the board. And just a reminder also is that when you're presenting on whatever you're presenting on, we cannot engage in a conversation, okay? And then know that I will hand this over to the superintendent, and he will follow up if there needs to be follow-up with y'all, okay? And then you do have 5 minutes to speak, okay? And Mr. Castillo, you can help me with it. Thank you, sir. Okay, so I do have first gentleman is, and I'm sorry if I don't pronounce your name correctly, Araveri Krotz. You may come to the podium.
Yes.
Okay.
Mr. Draven Crotte?
Yes.
Yes, that is me.
Okay.
Hi, thank
Hi,
you.
good evening.
Hi, good evening. Thank you for having me. I guess my question
I'm going to ask you for one big favor.
Yes.
If you could choose to remove your mask. If you don't have to, that's up to you.
It's okay.
But if you could just like speak into the mic so it's clear also for our audience online. I appreciate it.
Yes, of course.
Thank you.
My son is attending La Unión, New Mexico, and this is his first year, and he just finished his summer camp today, which was really great. But I was a little shocked when we did the orientation. I'm a stay-home dad, and my wife and I chose for me to be the stay-home dad because she decided that he wanted my son to speak Spanish. And he does. He speaks very clear, very fluent in Spanish and English. I speak to him in Spanish all the time, and it's almost 100%. I don't answer him in English, and my wife takes care of the English part when she needs to, so he's very fluent. But I was a little surprised in the orientation that, and not just me, but a couple other parents, that there's not a dual language at La Unión. And I was kind of wondering and hoping, or how I could help to either help to have an elective, or I could write a curriculum and maybe present it to somebody on maybe having a couple hours a week in Spanish, thinking that he is going to either question me on why he's not learning Spanish, why he's speaking Spanish, because all his friends now speak English and there's no Spanish at school or anywhere other than me at home. And one thing I dread is him ever mentioning, why am I learning Spanish if no one speaks in Spanish? And I sure don't want him to lose now that he's going to school from, I believe, 7:30 till 2:30 or 3:30. So I'm not going to have much time to teach him Spanish other than the weekends. He's going to come home hungry, tired. And for me to put him in tutoring or anything else would be probably not appropriate. He's going to be a little tired. So I'm wondering if there's any way or anything that we can do to maybe have an elective or anything that he could learn his Spanish and continue to learn it, and maybe learn it more appropriately. Secretary, Ms. Rodriguez, you speak very well Spanish, and that's precisely the kind of Spanish that I want him to continue to learn. It's beautiful. That's where I'm at. I think we're in a region where Spanish is very valuable. I believe that the more languages you know, the more opportunities you're going to have in the professional field. And the region that we live in, I believe that Spanish should be continued and respected. We eat Mexican food every day. We don't question it. We go to the restaurant, we eat tostadas, we eat enchiladas, we eat chile rellenos, but we don't continue to teach the beautiful language of Spanish, which it's very beautiful. And that's really what I have to say. And thank you very much, everyone.
And I apologize, it's strawberry, correct? DRA?
It's Draven.
Dravery,
Yes,
okay,
ma'am.
Draven.
It's okay. My
Dravery.
D's a little off, yeah, but
Okay,
it's
awesome.
Draven.
Okay, so, okay.
Yeah. Thank you.
And,
Thank you for listening, and I hope I could help write the curriculum if you need it, and if you like it, fine. If not, I'm really good at curriculums. I've written several for schools. So
We appreciate you approaching the board, and I will pass this information to
Thank you
our
so much.
superintendent and expect a phone call from him.
Very good.
And- Okay, and we'll follow up with him to make sure he followed up with you.
okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you so much,
sir.
sir.
Thank you, sir.
The next individual is Margie Bryant. You may step up to the podium.
Good evening, Madam President, distinguished board members, and Superintendent Dempsey, and good evening, audience. I thank you for allowing me to speak on several concerns that are disturbing and would like some clarification. First of all, I would like to thank Mrs. Browder on her retirement, which was a surprise to hear that she had finally made the decision to retire. I wish her well in her retirement and thank her for her hard work and dedication she administered to Executive Associate Superintendent for Human Resources in our school district. My concerns are as follow. Number one, I noticed that the Gadsden employment website, the vacancy for Executive Associate Superintendent for Human Resources was not posted as an open vacancy. Concern number two, is this district not legally required to post any of the job listings? Concern three, does this action not discriminate against other potential applicants? And concern number four, authority of appointment. In a conversation with Mr. Dempsey that I had, I expressed my concerns and strongly encouraged him that the school district should have transparency, and by not posting any or all vacancies may avoid the appearance of discrimination. And this is my opinion. In the same conversation, I was informed by Mr. Dempsey that the position had already been filled by an employee that held the position of Director of Early Childhood Department within the Gadsden District. I asked, how was that possible? And Mr. Dempsey informed me that as superintendent of the district, he has the authority to appoint and fill any position. I did ask him if there was any possibility of any other potential applicant within the district that may have been a good candidate and has not been given the opportunity to apply. And his response was that he had no time to post the position, and that this was his second appointment as superintendent in this district. I ask you, board members, is this a good hiring practice? And is this fair to any potential applicant internally or externally? I sincerely thank you again for allowing me to speak and voice my concern. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Bryant, and again, we will pass this information to Mr. Dempsey, and I'll make sure that he has followed up.
Okay, thank you
ma'am.
so much.
Have a good evening. Okay, moving on to our next item, which is our action items. We actually have only one this evening, which is 6A, consideration and possible approval of revised student attendance zone for Yucca Heights Elementary. Superintendent Dempsey.
Madam President, board members, I'll give you a quick recap here of our presentation. So we've done now 3 presentations. In front of you on the screen, you'll see a map of the Yucca Heights area. So our biggest concern is the amount of growth in the Yucca Heights area. There's a possibility of, there will be 266 additional lots becoming available in January. So that's a pretty large number that can move very quickly in that area. We're maxed out at Yucca Heights currently. You know, 2 years ago we were out there and had to do something very similar, and here we are again. And so what we've done is there's two areas we've identified. The orange area includes 102 students. Those 102 students would be moved to Desert Trail. That would become their home school. And then the next area is a green section that includes 52 students, and those 52 students would attend Sunrise Elementary. And we initially talked about the yellow area. Now, part of this, when you think about how did we come up with these areas, we really had to work with our bus contractor, because remember, we got to get, in order to bus students, we got to get them into that area safely and get those buses out. And some of these areas are really difficult to get those larger buses turned around and in and out of those. So this is why we worked collaboratively with our bus contractor to say, here's the areas that they feel they can safely transport those students and move those numbers to those other schools. Mr. Snowdy, can you show the amount of the communication slide? There was the Google Doc I think we had shared with you. I don't know if you have that available to you. I want the board to get a feel for the amount of communication, and yeah, there it is. And so just to get a feel for, us discussing this topic, we've talked about it in 3 different board meetings, March, April, and May. And then we had a June 15th coffee with the superintendent, and you see the communication that went out to parents through School Messenger and Remind. And then we had an in-person meeting and a virtual meeting that same day. And then on the 21st, this week, on Tuesday, additional in-person and face-to-face we did at the same time, which actually worked out really well, I thought. And then you see the amount of communication that went out to parents. So I really do believe, to the point of even letters, remind messages, voice, we use our messenger system so that the principal's voice, they heard the principal's voice, because we had heard that's important to them. And so I really do think the parents impacted have been truly notified. I think we've done everything we can to truly make sure they're aware of what's happening in their school and at their campus. And we did talk to some parents. So programmatic, there were some conversations around dual language. And for example, Yucca Heights is a dual language school. Desert Trail is a dual language school, fully implemented. Sunrise just started that path. So if we have a student who's in dual language in the upper grades, but is scheduled to go to Sunrise because of their attendance, I definitely can work with that parent as long as they remain in dual language, and I can get them to Desert Trail so they remain in that program. So those are some questions that came up in our parent meeting. There was some conversation around uniforms, and so if a parent has purchased new Yucca Heights uniforms already, we'll exchange those for either Desert Trail Sunrise, and we can take care of them with that. And then, I remind them, and we'll get to advertising this, we're also working really hard to make sure our parents understand that back-to-school supplies, we've been able to purchase all those for our students as they return. So hopefully we're helping parents as we prepare for the upcoming school year. So that's just a little note. Definitely open for questions or thoughts that you might have.
Questions, comments, concerns? Go ahead, Ms. Rodriguez.
Thank you, Madam President. So I think that one of my biggest concerns was about that, how if parents that were going to be impacted, if they were being informed, that's the major thing, right? And unfortunately, for some, I know that as parents, it's more difficult for us than it is for the students. We sometimes think that because they're going to move to a different school, it's going to be difficult. I've been through that, and I know that another concern that I heard was that the school is closer to or they feel that they're going to pass through the school, and now they're going to be further. I have to experience that every single day, and it's okay. It's unfortunate that it seems that way, right? That you have to go a further distance. But something that we need to really consider is the fact that, do we want classrooms that are full completely to the max, or do we want to be able to I guess, separate some of those and make the classroom smaller. I think that should be something that, as a parent, we need to really consider. The one question I do have is, I know that at this point, the staffing is something that needs to be looked into. So my question would be, how is that going to happen? Like, how are you going to figure which teachers, if you have to move some from Yucca onto the other schools, how is that going to be? Is it going to be by how long they've been part of the district, or what is the plan on that? Or is it going to be optional?
So when we begin, Madam President, Secretary Rodriguez, great question. So when we begin that process, what we're typically looking at is, it kind of falls into grade level. And it could be programmatic, right? Because what I mean by that is, if I need a bilingual teacher, I may need to add a bilingual endorsed teacher to Desert Trail. So I have to find that bilingual teacher. So what'll happen is it's going to be based on student numbers. How many students from 5th grade moved to Desert Trail? How many moved, right? That's what it's going to be based on. It's straight based on numbers. And obviously we want to work with staff, because if they're happy, they're going to do a better job. But I think right now we have the opportunity to really talk to them and help them with that transition. The longer we wait, my concern is then it's rushed, and that's when people typically are pretty stressed out, when they're really being pushed, and they only have a few weeks to prepare. So my hope is we can get those individuals notified and help them transition to their new school.
Thank you for that. I think that just giving the opportunity, and also staff remembering that what we're working for, right? The objective here is giving a good education to the students. So I know it's a change, and change sometimes is not appreciated and sometimes not embraced like we should. It could be something very positive. So I think that we have to be very open-minded about that, and again, not forget that the main goal here is the students, and if it's something that's going to benefit everyone, I think that's where we need to really look into.
Any further questions or comments before I go? No? Okay, so I'm next. Okay, so piggybacking on what Ms. Rodriguez was asking as far as staffing, I'm just curious, how are we going to determine who is going to either be transferred from Yucca, if that's necessary, to what, as far as transfers, is it first one in, last one out? Is it based on seniority? How are we going to do that? Is it volunteer first? How are we going to handle that?
Madam President, board members, obviously we always would go with volunteers first. So if somebody wants to, we're going to go there, because that's going to excite, they're going to come with a good attitude. That's what we're looking for, right? But usually that doesn't happen that way. And so what we're going to have to do is we're just going to have to look at grade level needs. And so, for example, let's just say when we make this transfer, Desert Trail needs 2 teachers. And then we look at Yucca Heights numbers, and those numbers are low in certain. 2 4th grade classrooms only have, one has 8 and one has 6. Well, I'm going to combine that classroom. The teacher probably with the least seniority is going to be headed to Desert Trail, and the one with the most is going to combine those 2. So it's kind of sometimes 6 of one, half a dozen the other. But what I don't want you to feel is, like, if I'm looking for a 6th grade teacher and my person at Yucca Heights is a kindergarten teacher, with the least seniority, I'm going to move that. That may not happen that way, because that's not what was going to serve kids. That kindergarten teacher is not going to be ready to deliver a good quality instruction at 6th grade. And so it's going to come down to some program needs, if you will, in grade level. So, if you're a 4th, 5th, or 6th grade teacher, you could probably handle that. If you're a primary, that would be a heavy lift for them. And I would not want to do that. I don't think that would be wise. I don't think that helps anybody when we do that.
So that decision will strictly be between you and HR. The principals will not really have to do anything with that.
No, we'll
I mean, you're going to communicate that to them, but you'll be working with your HR director to see.
Absolutely. And we want to sit with them as an opportunity, right? I want to present it. Sometimes it's how you present it. If you send a letter and just demand, as opposed to sit down and here's what's going on, here's what's happening, here's what I'm going to ask you to be able to do here, and here's how I can help you. Because we also got to deal with furniture. We've also got to deal with supplies that we purchase. So there's all kinds of other logistics that have to get worked out, and if we can start working on those now, I think it can be a smoother transition for staff and students.
And so depending what the will of the board is after when we vote, if the board decides to go forth with this, you will be contacting these individuals.
Oh, yeah,
like how
absolutely.
soon do you, like immediately, right? Or like probably tomorrow or Monday or next week
I think
probably,
HR
right?
will it'll probably be next week, but at some point within the time, I really want to sit down with them and explain to them why and what we're thinking and how, and get a feel for how it can help them.
Okay. And then, let me see. I had a question, but also parents brought this question at the last in-person meeting that you had, and I appreciate you having that meeting in person. I think we had more engagement that last meeting and more engagement in I don't know if Mr. Carmano knows how many people engaged, but it was probably more engagement than the first meetings that we have. So I really appreciate that. And then I guess my question is, because that parent was asking, would Chaparral Elementary be an option for parents who don't want to have their kids attend Sunrise or Desert Trail? Would that be an option?
Madam President, board members, the in-district transfer could be a possibility for them, and that would be a really easy process. Yucca Heights, I preface this as Yucca Heights will not be accepting, that would defeat the purpose of what we're doing here if we allowed in-district transfers. But Chaparral, Desert Trail, and Sunrise all are allowing those. So there is ample space at Chaparral Elementary.
And then I just wanted to make the comment that based on what you were saying and at these meetings, is just so that the public that's here present and watching online is, if that in-district transfer is approved, the parents would have to provide transportation, correct?
Absolutely, yes, ma'am.
Okay, just FYI, parents, if you're listening out there online or you're present here in person. And then, let's see. I wanted to say the same thing I said at the first meeting, is for those parents that are here in person and online, is that, the expectations that are expected of administration and teachers at Yucca Heights Elementary are most definitely the same expectations that would be that the superintendent would have of Desert Trail Elementary and Sunrise Elementary. So your kids are in good hands. So, I like Ms. Rodriguez was saying, I think as adults, we probably, kids are more resilient than we are to make those adjustments. So, our kids are going to be fine. Again, if there's issues or concerns, always, always, always follow that chain of command, which would be, as parents, I'm a parent too of kids that attend here. Gadsden is definitely talk to your teacher first, then your administrator, your principal, then it would be after the principal, as the parent, it would be the superintendent, correct? Or did I miss something?
If it's elementary, Mr. Araujo. If it's secondary,
Okay.
Right. So there is a stepping stone there. But I always have an open door policy, and there's nothing wrong with me joining them in those meetings as well. And I've done that before, and I have no problem doing that.
Okay. So I just wanted to make point that out. And then I also wanted to say, just a reminder, Mr. Dempsey, is that had we not had Sunrise Elementary, which is our last school in Chaparral, and I thank you, Ms. Williams, if you're watching, wherever you are, thank you for making that commitment to transition Sunrise Elementary to become a dual language school, because in my opinion, firmly my opinion, we would have been in trouble had we not had Sunrise Elementary be a dual language school. So, because it is, it's known to all of you, right, that Ms. Flores would love to see that our district become a dual language district. So, thank you again to that administration. And I would ask that Ms. Urbina and Ms. Barajas, continue supporting Ms. Williams so that she can have a campus as successful as yours for our kids. And I think that with that, I conclude my comments and questions. Anything else? No? Okay. So you know what? I lied. I am always forgetting to ask this question. Okay. So I guess my only other two concerns is I just want to make sure that the public out there that's listening is that, correct, Mr. Dempsey, letters were sent out by Principal Vargas specifically to the families that were affected. Just make sure that's on record.
Madam President, board members, yes, letters were sent to the families impacted.
Okay, and as a result, we did see, I was able to speak to some families when I went to that meeting in person, again, our last meeting, which was, what day, Mr. Dempsey? Tuesday. And I did ask him, hey, did you get your letter? And they're like, yes. So, that attempt was made. And I just want to let my community of Chaparral know is that the district is always going to make a fair attempt to communicate to you all, whether it's through Facebook, through Messenger, through Ms. Urbina's voice as a telephone message. And so, as Ms. Rodriguez always says, it's very important to that us as parents, we engage in our kids. And so I just want my community to know that, my personal opinion, every attempt was made to communicate to you all about the change. And, it's something that, we have to do because Yucca Heights, it's exploding with kids. And like I'm going to piggyback on what Ms. Rodriguez said, is as a teacher myself, I would rather have a smaller classroom so that I can give more attention, one-on-one attention to our kids. And once that starts to increase, it just becomes hard to do that. And then especially, give our other two schools that are, Sunrise that's starting the transition into dual language, and Desert Trail, which Mr. Dempsey has mentioned that it is one of the best performing dual language schools in our district. Give them a chance, an opportunity. And I think that's all I want to say. And so Superintendent Dempsey, do I hear a motion actually?
I'd like to make a motion to approve revised student attendance zone for Yucca Heights.
Okay, Secretary Rodriguez has made a motion to approve the revised student attendance zone for Yucca Heights Elementary. Superintendent Dempsey?
So recommend.
All in favor? Aye. Aye. All opposed? Okay, that motion passes. Okay, moving on to discussion item 7A, monthly budget reports for the month ending May 31st, 2022. Superintendent Dempsey.
Madam President, board members, Ms. Martinez is going to help us with this item.
Good evening, Madam President, members of the board, Superintendent Dempsey. I bring to you for discussion the monthly budget report for May 31st, 2022. Operational fund revenues were $122.2 million, which represents 92.66% of budgeted revenues. Operational expenditures were $106.3 million, which is 58.10% of budgeted expenditures. The May 31st, 2022 operational fund cash balance before loans was $73.1. After temporary loans of $4.5, that amount was $68.6 million. As of May 31st, the PD and other grant agencies owed the district approximately $4.8 million for grant fund expenditures and $2.4 million for student nutrition. Total revenues for all funds were $205.7 million. Total expenditures were $175.6 million. Direct instruction expenditures plus encumbrances as of May 31st were $79.6 million, or 63.38% of our operational budget. As of May 31st, all district accounts were in compliance with pledge collateral requirements. Questions, comments?
Questions, comments, concerns? So I did have, I did have a question, and if it's appropriate to ask. The monies that were awarded by New Mexico State Representative Willie Madrid, because he had contacted me, I know the ones that we were awarded, and we actually approved it again at a school board meeting to purchase physical therapy equipment. Where are we with that? Because I don't want, 2 years passed in order to expend that, and I would not want that, I don't want, my opinion, I don't want to lose that money.
Right.
And then also, was there monies that needed to be spent by June of this year, and has that been done already?
Ma'am, I don't have that information with me, and I don't recall at the top of my head, so I can get that information to you tomorrow. That way I can have some exact numbers for you.
And then in regards to as far as the spending of for the physical therapy, has that been started?
Madam President, on that one, I believe we have one other fiscal year. I think last I heard, and Mr. Dempsey, correct me if I'm wrong, but it does require, we are going to be remodeling the middle schools, and so we are kind of waiting to
So we're
see
delayed.
where the need is.
Okay, so I know that we're going to start remodeling Gadsden Middle School, but it's purchasing of equipment to put it in a location. So are we seriously waiting? I mean, it makes sense to wait, but at the same time, I mean, the kids can benefit immediately from this equipment for physical therapy, whatnot. Could it be purchased and then be housed temporarily till,
Madam President, board members, as soon as our budget open, because right now we don't process POs at the end of June, or rarely do we process POs at the end of June until we roll over to July. As soon as we get budget authority on this will be spent in the next 60 days.
Okay. Thank you. Any further questions, comments, or concerns? Okay, thank you, Ms. Martinez.
Thank you.
And then, do I hear a motion?
I'd like to make a
make-
motion. I'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
Okay, Mr. Cano has made a motion to adjourn. Superintendent Dempsey?
So recommend.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Motion passes. We are now adjourned. Folks, have a good evening and enjoy the rest of your summer. We'll see you like in a month, right? Okay. God bless you. Bye-bye.